Welcome to this class on fluid mechanics, where we will continue our discussion on integral flow analysis. And today we will derive the energy equation for a control volume, and as I had referred to earlier, this will lead us to the well known Bernoulli's equation. So, without further ado, let us apply the energy equation for a control volume. So, for that we will take the quantity B to be the total energy and beta will be the specific energy. So, this is total energy of the system. And now we will apply Reynolds transport theorem on this, and we also know. So, Reynolds transport theorem will give us dE by dt is equal to partial by partial t of volume integral of E rho dV plus integral over the control surface E times rho V dot n dA. And as we know, for this to be valid, there are no conditions. But then we also get dE by dt from first law of thermodynamics. So, this is where then we go to the systems approach and we write the left hand side from first law of thermodynamics, which tells us dE by dt is equal to dQ by dt minus dW by dt, where W is the work done by the system and Q is heat added to the system. So, given this, let us now apply this to the control volume, and when we do this, what we get is dQ by dt minus dW by dt is equal to partial by partial t of integral E rho dV plus integral over the control surface E times rho V dot n dA. Now, the specific energy will consist of E internal plus specific kinetic energy plus specific potential energy plus if there is any other form of energy in the system, we will also count that. And notice that if I am using potential energy term, then when I calculate the work done term, then I will not use gravity, because gravity will be accounted for in the potential energy. And if I use the symbols for internal energy, we use the symbol U hat. So, this is U hat. What is the specific kinetic energy? It is kinetic energy per unit mass. So, this becomes V square by 2 and potential energy will be equal to G z, because it is mgz divided by mass, and we neglect other energy. If it is there, then you can add it up here. So, this is what we get for specific energy in a typical case: internal energy, kinetic energy and potential energy. So, these are the three terms which give us E. Now, dQ by dt, which is the term on the left hand side, this is the rate of heat added to the system. So, to whatever your system of particles is, heat is being added. If heat is being added, then this term is not 0, and the rate of heat added is dq by dt, and heat could be added through 3 modes: conduction, convection, or radiation. So, this you will see more in your heat transfer course about the different modes of heat transfer. And dW by dt, the other term. So, we have looked at E, we have looked at dQ by dt. Now, let us focus on dW by dt. dW by dt is the rate of work done by the system. Now, work is done by forces. So, here this is rate of work done by non-conservative forces which are present on the system and which are doing work. So, this is work done by the system which act on the system if there are any non-conservative forces, because conservative forces, and the example which we have is gravity, the work done due to this, the work done is accounted for in potential energy. So, the rate of work done by conservative forces will come in the potential energy term, and clearly one thing you should remember, do not count gravity in this because we have taken it as Gz. Okay. So, now let us look at a typical system. So, let us think of a system where we have, I am showing one inlet, one outlet, there could be more. So, in this fluid is coming and it goes, and we also, let us say, there is some sort of a shaft which is sort of going inside the control volume, and the control volume here we will take control volume is taken this area which is there in the fluid, and somewhere here it is cutting this external body which is in the control volume, which I am calling a shaft. Now, what this shaft does is, shaft is the means for exchange of energy to the surroundings. So, this is the system, everything outside is the surrounding, and through the shaft energy is exchanged or work is being done on the surroundings. And example of this could be, if it is a pump, then we are providing energy to the fluid. If the shaft is that of a pump, then the pump rotates inside the blades of the pump rotates and they provide energy to the fluid. It could be a turbine where energy is extracted from the fluid. So, fluid with higher energy is coming in from the inlet, and then through the shaft energy is extracted from the fluid doing some useful work, and the remaining fluid goes out from the outlet. So, whatever is the work done by the system due to the shaft, we express this as W dot shaft. So, this is the work done by the shaft, and shaft work, as I have written, I will just write it again, isolates the work done by the machine element in the control volume, like a pump. I will give some more examples: impeller, fan, turbine, piston, etc. So, whatever is this exchange with the surrounding, we include that in shaft work. Now, this is work done by the control volume, work done by the fluid present in the control volume on the shaft, which is protruding through the control volume. So, now if we have a pump, then we know energy is being added to the fluid, but W dot S is the work done by the control volume. So, therefore, W dot S in case of a pump will be less than 0, because energy is being provided to the fluid. So, work done by the fluid will be negative. And similarly, if there is a turbine, then the fluid is providing the energy to the surroundings, and in that case W dot S will be greater than 0. Now, so now we are basically looking at the different components of the work done term, of the W dot term. That is what we are trying to now look. We are looking at the different components of W dot terms, and the first component we talked about was W dot shaft, which is because of the interaction with some moving machine part, which is also going inside the control volume. Now, other than that, W dot will consist of work done by surface forces on the control volume surface. The work done by body forces has already been, as I said, accounted for in the gravity term, which comes as a part of potential energy. Now, surface forces on the control volume. So, if this is a control volume consisting of a fluid, so there could be flow going in, flow coming out, there could be a solid surface at the top, as we saw earlier, there could be a shaft. So, this is a typical control volume, and so now here on the surface we have two types of forces: normal forces and we have shear forces. The normal forces, we will count them as forces due to pressure, and the shear forces will be the viscous forces. So, now when I look at the work done, let us first see how in a control volume what will be work done by pressure, or rather rate of work done by pressure forces. So, clearly the magnitude of work done by pressure will be equal to the pressure force which is there on the surface, which is P dA, and we have to multiply it by the normal component of the velocity, because work done, because recall W dot is equal to F dotted with V. So, because force is the pressure force in the normal direction, we have to take its velocity in the normal component. So, the magnitude clearly on area dA is equal to P dA times V normal. This is the work done by pressure. So, let us look at a control surface like this, and this is an element of area dA. So, this is pressure which is acting in the normal direction, and let the fluid have a velocity v on the surface. So, now rate of work done on the system. So, now this is we are talking of work done by pressure forces on the control volume. This will be equal to P dA multiplied by the inflow velocity. Pressure acts normal, and if fluid is coming in, then this is what it is, and this will be equal to minus P dA times V normal at the inlet. At the inlet, V normal has a minus sign. So, if this is the magnitude of V normal, we put it a minus sign, and therefore, this work done becomes equal to P times minus V dot n dA at the inlet, because velocity is coming in and n is the direction which is outward. So, this is the work done, and rate of work done by the system. So, this was the work done by pressure on the control volume. So, rate of work done by the system which is in the control volume, this will be equal to minus of P times minus V dot n dA, and this will be equal to P times V dot n dA. So, therefore, work done by pressure will be equal to integral on the control surface P times V dot n dA. And this we can also write it, if we look at the term, I will just write it as integral on the control surface P by rho times rho V dot n dA. So, I am multiplying and dividing by rho, and I am getting this. So, this is the work done by pressure. Now, work done by viscous stresses, let us write this as W dot V, and this will be equal to minus of the viscous stresses, let us represent them, the force due to them, as tau dot V dA. This is the general expression I have wrote. So, tau are the viscous stresses and force. So, this is the where we have taken it as a stress vector. So, tau dot V dA will give me the viscous stresses, and W dot V is equal to minus integral over the control surface tau dot V dA, where this is the stress vector on the surface. Actually, if you see, we have taken pressure as the same. It is possible that the normal components of the stresses are different across different directions in a moving fluid. So, a contribution to tau also comes not just from the tangential component, which is the shear stress, but also from the normal component, which is other than the pressure. And right now I am just saying this a bit, this will become a bit more clear once we get to the differential analysis and we derive the equation for we write the stress equation and explain the stress in more details. So, now let us see, there are, so this V is the velocity vector. So, maybe I think I should put it as a capital V instead of small v, please note that. So, now there are parts of the control surface where velocity is 0. Which are those parts where velocity is 0? All the parts of the control surface in touch with a solid body which is not moving, the velocity will be 0, and therefore, on all those components viscous work will be 0 irrespective of the value of tau. Secondly, if shaft is cutting the control surface, then on those parts viscous work is already accounted in shaft work. In those parts of the control surface where shaft is cutting, obviously the viscous forces which are doing the shaft work, so that has already been accounted for. So, now what leaves us with are the inlet and the outlet. So, this was our typical control volume, and what we have shown is on this part it is W dot S, on these parts viscous work is 0. So, now we have to bother about viscous work at inlet and outlet. Now, the viscous stresses which we have talked of, and I just refer to this, I will repeat this again. This viscous stress will have two components, the shear component and the normal component. Now, if this is how the flow is coming and the control surface is perpendicular to the velocity, that is n is parallel to V or parallel to minus V. Then on this surface, if I look, if this is dA, what is the direction of shear stress? The shear stresses will be, if I am looking at a two dimensional case, velocity is in the I direction and shear force or shear stress, force due to shear stress will be in the j direction. And when I take a product of tau dot V, they will be mutually orthogonal. So, therefore, this product will be 0 in a case like this. So, if we have a control volume which is perpendicular to the flow, then viscous, the shear stresses will do no work because of the direction of velocity. So, therefore, tau dotted with V is equal to 0 in case if flow is perpendicular to the surface. And in the normal direction, if there is tau, there is a component of normal stress. Now, normal stress has a part which is pressure and the other part could be the viscous component of the normal stress. So, the work done by pressure has already been accounted for in the pressure term, and the viscous term which has a normal component, if that is there, then we are neglecting this. So, therefore, when we account for all the viscous forces, what we find is in most cases in a full control volume which has solid engulfing the control volume and the flow is cutting through the at inlet and outlet which is perpendicular, then the viscous forces will be 0. So, therefore, in a lot of cases we will come across where viscous work done will be 0. But let us look, suppose we have flow of fluid, this is just fluid which is flowing and I choose a streamline in a fluid and I choose streamline 1 and streamline 2. and if I choose my control volume which is engulfed between two streamlines. So, if my control volume now, I have a case like this. So, now the binding surfaces of the control volume on top and bottom are streamlines. So, on the streamline surface, that is, let us call this as surface 1, surface 2, surface 3, surface 4. On the streamline control surface, that is 2 and 4, work done by viscous forces in general will not be 0. Because why? Velocity is somewhere in this direction and the viscous, because see, velocity has to be in this direction, it cannot, it is a streamline. So, there can be no normal component, but the viscous stresses in this, the shear stresses now cannot be neglected and velocity is not 0. So, therefore, viscous work done on this surface will not be 0 if viscous forces are significant, because there will be viscous forces acting on the between the two layers of fluids. So, therefore, viscous forces, if they are significant, then viscous work will not be 0. So, what we have done is we have looked at various components of energy, various components of work done. Now, let us get back to our energy equation. So, energy equation was dE by dt is equal to dq by dt minus dw by dt, and this was so. Now, what we had shown was W dot was the rate of work done by the control volume, and it consisted of W dot P, work done by pressure, and this is equal to integral on the control surface P by rho V dot dA. The second component is W dot S, which is shaft work, and the third component is W dot V, the viscous work. So, therefore, and this viscous work was given as minus integral, we saw this, tau dotted with V dA. So, this was the total viscous work. So, we club this together. So, W dot will become equal to W dot S plus integral P by rho times V dot n dA minus integral. So, again this is on the control surface tau dot V dA. So, this is the total work done. Now, we put this in the energy equation for a CV, and we also notice that the energy in specific energy was U plus V square by 2 plus Gz. So, then when we put all of this, we get Q dot minus W dot S minus W dot V minus integral on the control surface P by rho V dot n dA and this will be equal to d by dt of volume integral of small e, which is u plus v square by 2 plus gz dv, plus, let us write it separately, integral on the control surface u plus v square by 2 plus gz rho v dot n dA. So, this is the total energy equation which we have got, and in W dot V, if we put this minus term, if we put this in here. So, actually if I so W dot V is equal to this, and this will then become plus. If I put it tau dot V here, that will become plus. Okay. So, now when this is the equation which we have, and this is the energy equation. Now, what we can do is we can take the pressure term on the right hand side. So, this pressure term can be taken to the control surface term here, and you see what happens is, that is why I had multiplied and divided by rho, because then I will add u plus v square by 2 plus gz plus p by rho multiplied by rho v dot n dA. So, when I do this, I get q dot minus w dot s minus w dot v is equal to d by dt. I will just write it e rho dv, that is what I will put the first term as, and it is e times, there should have been a rho also, e times dv, and then I think in this term, in the d by dt term, I missed out a rho, because it is specific energy multiplied by rho dv. So, just add that here, and then we have plus integral on the control surface, and now we have u plus p by rho plus v square by 2 plus gz into rho v dot n dA. So, now if we have steady state and a fixed control volume, if this is there, then the d by dt term can be, will be 0, and we will be left with q dot minus w s dot minus w v dot is equal to the surface integral of u plus p by rho plus v square by 2 plus gz. So, this is the form we will be left with. Now, when we look at the energy equation, in the energy equation, if you have seen in your thermodynamics course, you must have seen the specific internal energy plus P by rho is specified as H, which is called the specific enthalpy. So, now let us also add some more things. So, we are considering steady state flow. 2, we are considering a flow with a fixed control volume. 3, we add there is only one inlet, one outlet, and 4th, at inlet and outlet flow does not change with area. So, we are considering, this is what we said, if it is a larger area it is 1D flow, if it is a small inlet and outlet, this is a very reasonable assumption that the properties are uniform. Then here what we can have is rho v dot n dA over the inlet or the outlet, we can write it as m dot, and mass balance will tell us m dot at the inlet is equal to m dot at the outlet, and this is equal to m dot. So, this we have seen, and if that is the case, then applying this to the equation will give us Q dot minus Ws minus W dot V is equal to m dot times minus of H1 plus V1 square by 2 plus G times Z1 plus H2 plus V2 square by 2 plus GZ2, where 1 is the inlet and 2 is the outlet. Of course, this is one inlet, one outlet. If there are multiple inlets and outlets, then you will have m1 dot multiplied by this, m2 dot multiplied by this, plus m3 dot plus m4 dot, etc. And if flow is coming in, a negative sign will come. If flow is leaving, a positive sign will come. So, in this one inlet, one outlet, we can also now divide by m dot. If we divide the whole equation by m dot, what we will get is q dot divided by m dot minus the shaft work divided by m dot minus the viscous work done divided by m dot. This is equal to minus of H1 plus V1 square by 2 plus GZ1 plus H2 plus V2 square by 2 plus GZ2. Now, here q dot by m dot, I can use a symbol small q. This is the heat transfer per unit mass. See, what I have done is q dot was a rate of change of heat transfer, I divided by m dot. So, both the rates go away and it becomes the amount of heat which is transferred per unit mass. Similarly, Ws dot by m dot, this is what we write with a symbol small ws, shaft work per unit mass flow, and the viscous work done again by m dot, this will be written as small wv, viscous work per unit mass flow. What are the dimensions of each of these terms in the equation? The dimension of each of these terms is, you can clearly see all the terms should have the same dimension. So, that is nothing but V square by 2. So, the dimensions of these terms are, so dimensions of Q W S dot by M dot or small w s w v, specific enthalpy V square by 2 and G z, these dimensions are that of velocity square, which is L square by T square. Okay. So, in this form, this is how it is, and if we divide, if we further divide each term by G, then the dimensions will be dimensions of V square by G, which is nothing but dimensions of length, and this is what we call in our terminology of fluid mechanics as head. So, you must have seen when you talk of pumps, the pump has so much head of water. So, that head comes from here. So, we divide the equation by m dot g, divide the energy equation by m dot g, and then we have each term is called head. So, for example, the pressure term, if I take the enthalpy and split it as U plus P by rho, the pressure term will become P by rho g. So, this is called the pressure head. V square by 2g, this is called the velocity head, and Z is called the elevation head. So, these are the different names given to these terms, and if I look at the work done terms, W dot S by M dot G, this is called the head due to shaft, and this could be either head due to pump or head due to turbine. And we have seen the pump head will be negative, turbine head will be positive. We have seen W dot S due to turbine is greater than 0 and W dot due to pump is less than 0. We also define a new term called piezometric head, and this is the pressure head plus the elevation head. So, sum of pressure and elevation head, this is called piezometric head. And the reason why this was defined was, suppose if you have flow in an inclined tube. So, we have flow going down an inclined tube, and if we put some tappings on the top wall and we put a straight tube ahead. So, this fluid will rise in these tubes, and this level of fluid in this tube, this gives us the piezometric head. If we measure the height of fluid here with respect to a common datum, then this height here will be due to the pressure head and the elevation head. So, and these tubes are also called piezometric tubes. So, these are just some nomenclature, and then let us now look at the case of a special control volume. First, let us define what is a stream tube. Let us take a small closed area in a flow. So, this is all around there is flow going on. This is basically there is flow, and I choose a small closed area in a flow. And from each of these points there will be a streamline, and if we follow this. So, from this closed area you follow streamlines which start from different points of the closed area. So, when we do this streamlines, when we follow all of them, this is what will become something like a flexible tube, because the fluid could move anyway. So, all these streamlines are there, but no flow can cross the streamline. So, therefore, this is something like a flexible tube, this is a closed ring. So, when we follow all these streamlines, this is a tube, and this tube is called a stream tube. Is this clear? That we take a closed area. So, there is, let us say, this circle which I take, which is closed. I follow the streamline from the top, streamline from the second point, third point, just keep on following all the streamlines which are there, no fluid will cross it. So, when I follow this streamline, this becomes what I call a stream tube. So, this is something in the fluid, the surface of this tube is only the same fluid. So, this is just a region from that fluid itself. So, it is not that we have put a physical tube in the flow. Now, if I choose this stream tube as my control volume, I choose the stream tube as the control volume. So, I have some sort of a stream tube here and I choose this as the control volume. Now, why I am choosing this as the control volume is, if I call this surface 1, call this 2, then and I call the surrounding surface as 3, flow cannot leave through 3 because they are all streamlines. Now, we make the following assumptions. Assume incompressible flow, we assume steady flow, we assume inviscid or frictionless flow. That means, if the flow is inviscid, the work done by viscosity on surface 3 will be assumed to be 0. We are assuming inviscid flow, and then we also assume no shaft work between 1 and 2. So, that means there is no machine element which is protruding and which is either doing work and taking work, and finally, we also assume no heat transfer to the fluid between 1 and 2. So, now when I apply my full energy equation to this control volume, let me get back that page of full energy equation. This is a one inlet, one outlet control volume, and these are the different terms which I have in my equation. So, the first term, the heat transfer term is 0, there is no shaft work. So, this term is 0. We are assuming inviscid flow. So, the viscous work done term is 0. So, I will get H 1 plus V 1 square by 2, and so these two have to be equal. So, this gives me, when I apply energy equation to this control volume, I will get m dot times u plus V square by 2 plus G z plus P by rho on surface 1 is equal to m dot times u plus P by rho plus V square by 2 plus G z on surface 2. And since there is no heat exchange with surroundings, the internal energy U1 is equal to U1, the internal energy does not change because that is a function of temperature and there is no heat exchange, temperature does not change. So, U1 is equal to U2, and then we are left with V square by 2 plus Gz plus P by rho at the inlet is equal to V square by 2 plus Gz plus P by rho at the outlet. And in the limit, the stream tube radius at the inlet tends to 0, tends to a very small point. The stream tube will become a streamline. And so, what we get is P by rho plus V square by 2 plus Gz along a streamline is constant, and this is what is called Bernoulli's equation. This is the Bernoulli equation of fluid flow, which we probably you have been using blindly. But let us see the conditions for using Bernoulli's equation, they become the flow is incompressible, the flow is steady, no heat exchange with surroundings, no shaft work, and then no viscous work means we assume the flow to be inviscid or frictionless. These conditions were already listed earlier, but to that we another condition gets added, that points 1 and 2 are on the same streamline. So, for a general case, Bernoulli's equation can only be used across points on the same streamline. Bernoulli's equation cannot be used in across streamlines. So, both points 1 and 2 have to be on the same streamline. I will just, there could be cases, and this we will derive later, if the velocity distribution is such that del cross V is equal to 0. Del cross V is an important quantity in fluid mechanics. We will call it vorticity. If velocity distribution is such that vorticity is 0, then Bernoulli equation can be applied between any 2 points on the fluid flow not necessarily on a streamline. So, now there are many pitfalls because we tend to use Bernoulli's equation without any thoughts, and we have to realize that all these conditions have to be valid for Bernoulli's equation to be valid. And in particular, I will discuss this more in the next class. If we have flows with curved streamlines, then in general we cannot use Bernoulli equation between 1 and 2 because they are on different streamlines. If we can use Bernoulli between 1 and 3 is okay, but 1 and 2 is wrong because they are not along the same streamline. And in this case, if we have to find the pressure difference between P 1 and P 2, we have to use the equation dP by dN is equal to minus rho times AN. And if we have this, then this will give us, this is equal to minus rho times V square upon R, where R is the radius of curvature. So, this is the thought with which I am leaving you right now. You think about this, and we will talk more about this in the next class, and we will look at examples where we will solve integral flow analysis problems which use all the equations, mass balance, momentum balance as well as energy balance. So, we will look at, there will be one more class on integral fluid flows where we will look at some of these examples, and I will also talk a bit about these curved streamlines and the errors which we, erroneous ways in which we sometimes tend to use Bernoulli's equation. Thank you.